We have more control over our bodies than humans. We can heal from almost any kind of injury, except from wood. Wood can hurt us, even kill us. He snorted. So there's one thing the movies have right. A wooden stake through the heart will, in fact, kill a vampire. So will burning. Can we change into animals? I've never met any vampire that powerful, but theoretically it's possible for us, and shapeshifters and werewolves to... I've never met any vampire that powerful. But theoretically it's possible for us, and shapeshifters and werewolves do it all the time. Change into mist? I've never even met a shapeshifter who could do that. Poppy thumped the bed with her heel, and obviously we don't have to sleep in coffins. No, and we don't need native earth either. Myself, I prefer a Sealy Posturepedic, but if you'd like some dirt... Poppy elbowed him. Can we cross running water? Sure, and we can walk into people's homes without being invited, and roll in garlic if we don't mind losing friends. Anything else? Yes, tell me about the night world. It was her home now. Did I tell you about the clubs? We have clubs in every big city, in a lot of small ones too. What kind of clubs? Well, some are just dives, and some are like cafes, and some are like nightclubs, and some are like lodges. Those are mostly for adults. I know one for kids that's just a big old warehouse with skate ramps built in it. You can hang out and skateboard, and there are poetry slams every week at the Black Iris. Black Iris, Poppy thought. That reminded her of something. Something unpleasant. What she said was, "That's a funny name. All the clubs are named after flowers. Black flowers are the symbols of the night people." He rotated his wrist to show her his watch. An analog watch with a black iris in the centre of the face. See? Yeah. You know, I noticed that black thing, but I never really looked at it before. I think I assumed it was Mickey Mouse. He rapped her lightly on the nose in reproof. This is serious business, kid. One of these will identify you to other night people, even if they're as stupid as a werewolf. You don't like werewolves? They're great if you like double-digit IQs. But you let them in the clubs. Some clubs. Night people may not marry out of their own kind, but they all mix. Lamia, maid vampires, werewolves, both kinds of witches. Poppy, who had been playing at intertwining their fingers in different ways, shifted curiously. What's both kinds of witches? Oh. There's the kind that know about their heritage and have been trained, and the kind that don't. That second kind are what humans call psychics. Sometimes they just have latent powers, and some of them aren't even psychic enough to find the night world, so they don't get let in. Poppy nodded. Okay, got it. But what if a human walks into one of those clubs? Nobody will let them in. The clubs aren't what you call conspicuous, and they're always guarded. But if they did... James shrugged. His voice was suddenly bleak. They'd be killed, unless somebody wanted to pick them up as a toy or a pawn. That means a human who's basically brainwashed, who lives with vampires but doesn't know it because of the mind control. Sort of like a sleepwalker. I had a nanny once. His voice trailed off, and Poppy could feel his distress. You can tell me about it later. She didn't want him ever to be hurt again. He sounded sleepy. Poppy settled herself more comfortably against him. It was amazing, considering her last experience going to sleep, that she could even shut her eyes. But she could. She is with her soulmate, so what could go wrong? Nothing could hurt her. Nothing could hurt her here. Phil was having trouble shutting his eyes. Every time he did, he saw Poppy. Poppy asleep in the casket. Poppy watching him with a hungry cat's gaze. Poppy lifting her head from that guy's throat to show her mouth stained as if she'd been eating berries. She wasn't human anymore. And just because he'd known all along that she wouldn't be, didn't make it any easier to accept. He couldn't condone jumping on people and tearing up their throats for dinner. And he wasn't sure that it was any better to charm people and bite them and then hypnotise them to forget it. The whole system was scary on some deep level. Maybe James had been right. Humans just couldn't deal with the idea that there was somebody higher on the food chain. They'd lost touch with their caveman ancestors who knew what it was like to be hunted. They thought all the primal stuff was behind them. Could Philip tell them a thing or two? The bottom line was that he couldn't accept and Poppy couldn't change. And the only thing that made it bearable was that somehow he loved her anyway. Poppy woke in the dim, curtained bedroom the next day to find the other half of the bed empty. She wasn't alarmed, though. Instinctively she reached out with her mind and... there, James was in the kitchenette. She felt energetic, like a puppy straining to be let loose in a field. But as soon as she walked into the living room, she felt that her powers were weaker, and her eyes hurt. She squinted towards the painful brightness of the window. "It's the sun," James said. "Inhibits all vampire powers, remember?" He went over to the window and closed the curtains. They were the blackout type, like the ones in the bedroom. The mid-afternoon sunshine was cut off. That should help a little, but you'd better stay inside today until it gets dark. You vampires are more sensitive. Poppy caught something behind his words. "You're going out?" "I have to," he grimaced. "There's something I forgot. My cousin Ash is supposed to show up this weekend. This week, rather. I've got to get to my parents to head him off." "I didn't know you had a cousin." He winced again. I've got lots, actually. They're back east in a safe town, a whole town that's controlled by the Night World. Most of them are okay, but not Ash." "What's wrong with him?" "He's crazy, also cold-blooded, ruthless. You sound like Phil describing you." "No, Ash is the real thing, the ultimate vampire. He doesn't care about anyone but himself, and he loves to make trouble." Poppy was prepared to love all James's cousins for his sake, but she had to agree that Ash sounded dangerous. "I wouldn't trust anyone to know about you just now," James said, "and Ash is out of the question. I'm going to tell my parents he can't come here, that's all." And then what do we do? Poppy thought. She couldn't stay hidden forever. She belonged to the Night World, but the Night World wouldn't accept her. There had to be some solution, and she could only hope that she and James would find it. "Don't be gone too long," she said, and he kissed her on the forehead, which was nice, as if it was getting to be a habit. When he was gone, she took a shower and put on clean clothes. Good old Phil. He'd slipped in her favourite jeans. Then she made herself putter around the apartment because she didn't want to sit and think. Nobody should have to think on the day after their own funeral. The phone sat beside the square couch and mocked her. She found herself resisting the impulse to pick it up so often that her arm ached. But who could she call? Nobody. Not even Phil, because what if somebody overheard him? What if her mother answered? No, don't think about Mum, you idiot. But it was too late. She was overwhelmed suddenly by a desperate need to hear her mother's voice, just to hear a hello. She knew she couldn't say anything herself. She just needed to establish that her mum still existed. She punched the phone number in without giving herself time to think. She counted rings. 1, 2, 3. "Hello?"